Stephanie Berner here at Rising Phoenix Counseling. I got asked twice today, how do I know if the feelings that I'm feeling are legitimate? Meaning, given the circumstance I'm in, you know, the person I'm having a disagreement with, that I'm fighting with, that I am being triggered by, that is upsetting me, given, you know, how do I know whether or not my upset, my anger, my hurt is legitimate, like legitimately warranted basically in this situation? And the reality is that your feelings are legitimate because you're having them. So what I mean by that is your feelings are never wrong. That doesn't mean that your feelings are a good judge of what is happening in the situation, but your feelings are always going to make perfect sense given your past, given your history, given what's happened. And you always want to validate your feelings. So, in terms of seeing the situation clearly, because I think that's ultimately where the question comes from, how do I know that my anger isn't, you know, I don't really have something legitimate to be angry about? The feelings that you, what each person puts into the situation is generally what ends up creating how the situation unfolds. Meaning, if you get triggered, or the other person gets triggered, for example, what happens is this person gets triggered and their response then generates a defense or a response from the other person, which is now part of their defending system. And now what they are doing is now triggering you further, and so on and so forth. And now you're actually not two people having a fight in the present. You're actually two people who are who have actually regressed to being their childlike self, meaning whatever it was that triggered you when you were a kid, like, this person's not hearing me, I better get louder, I better make sure that they can hear me and understand me, and so we get more emphatic, and the more emphatic we get, perhaps that triggers our partner or the other person, in the same way that it's like, oh my gosh, my parent got more emphatic, and then I would get even quieter. The quieter I would get, it's like, they're not understanding me. Let's say that's the example. They're not understanding, they're not hearing me. I better get louder and bigger and try and convince them. And then it's like, oh, and then the other person's, it's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly the way. I mean, they're not thinking this consciously, that this is the way my parent acted, I better respond the same way. It's more like our nervous system goes, oh my gosh, when somebody gets louder, I better get quieter and I better retreat. And then the other person who is doing the getting louder goes, oh my gosh, they're not hearing me. It's like they're disappearing. What's going on? I better get louder. And then you have two people whose nervous systems are in relationship. You have two people whose strategies they used, their defense or their strategy they used as children are now in relationship with each other. And neither one of you are actually totally present. So the way out of it is you call a timeout, or use whatever word you want. And this is something you have set up beforehand. You have a conversation with your partner when you are not in the thick of an upset, and you determine a word that you are both going to respect. And so let's say it's timeout. As soon as one of you realizes you're in your dynamic, you're fighting, you call a timeout, you both take some time out, you regulate your nervous system. And you can check out some of my other videos on how to do that. So you regulate your nervous system, you get calm, and then you can come back and discuss it after that. But you are never going to see the other person clearly if you are in the middle of being triggered. You're always going to see them through the lens of your past. You will not be constructive in that way of dealing with things. So the trick is, remove yourself from the situation, get your nervous system regulated, validate your feelings, Not that you're right about the situation, but it's like, whoa, I'm really angry. Your feelings are correct given what you've experienced in the past. And if in the past somebody had validated your feelings, validated that it totally makes sense that of course you'd be feeling that given, you know, what's happened. My parent was scary. They didn't hear me. They didn't understand me. Nobody understood how hard I was working to try and make this situation better. If somebody had seen that and validated that, you actually would not have developed a nervous system response. The way to start to undo your nervous system response, therefore, is to do that same thing for yourself now. Understand it's like I'm trying so hard in this relationship. It's really frustrating that it's not working. Let yourself feel the frustration. Let yourself feel that it's hard to be misunderstood. Let yourself feel that it's scary, whatever it is that's coming up. And validate the feeling, not the content of what you're doing. That's only going to get you into more trouble. Just feel what you're feeling, and then that will help you move through it so that you can actually return to talking about what you need to talk about. And then let your, when you're past the trigger, you can also let your partner into that. Have some accountability about what you bring to the relationship, how your past gets activated and you bring that into the present situation. And that's your part in the dynamic. They're going to have their own part. You are only responsible for your part and how you show up and what you bring to it. There. Okay, hopefully I've explained that well. Comment below if you have any other questions, and I'm happy to clarify. Hopefully that's helped. All right, take care. Bye-bye.